Cruise, you're crazy. Am I crazy? Well, it's been a really expensive week around here, so let's talk about it.
This video is sponsored by Cruiseman's Garage Honda Goldwing Maintenance Video Series.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Crown and Comments with Cruiseman. It's been an interesting week. It started last week actually, and not that you care about my personal problems or anything, but I am going to take this opportunity to share just a little bit of what's been going on. First of all, let me say welcome. If this is your first time here, Crown and Comments is something I do usually once a month, and basically gives me a chance to go through all the comments I get on YouTube, Facebook, emails, whatever, on a variety of topics, but it's usually motorcycle related. So I am going to go through some of your comments. I've got quite a few here that I've pulled off. If you're new to Crown and Comments, you may be wondering, what does Crown and Comments have to do with motorcycles? Well, once a month or so, I get my favorite adult beverage in the evening. It's actually, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now. I'm starting early today, and you'll know why in a minute. And I always like to emphasize when I do this that I never intend to promote drinking and riding a motorcycle. It's one of the things I've never done, even when I was a member of the Harley group, and no offense to Harley riders, but those guys were pretty big drinkers. And we would go on dinner rides, and those guys would have several beers or drinks, get back on their motorcycle and ride home. And Ricky and I went to many of these functions, and we never drank, ever, and then got on the motorcycle to go home. So this is something I do when I'm in for the night, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to be driving my car. I'm not going to be riding the bike. Just want to make sure you understand that. But before I get started, let me just give you a little background as to the last couple of weeks. Last week, many of you may already know that I had a motorcycle accident out in West Texas. I was riding my 2018 Honda Goldwing from Dallas-Fort Worth to Midland to visit my brother, and a semi backed into me on the highway at an intersection. He was stopped at an intersection, and he decided to back up. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, and a lot of you, I bet I've had 300 or 400 different comments, both on Facebook, YouTube, emails from some of you. And that's going to have to be an entire show on its own, because I've got a lot I want to say about those comments, a lot of responses. I just don't think it's really wise, given the fact that I'm still in the middle of the legal part of this insurance settlement. I can tell you a few things. I can give you a couple things. First of all, my insurance company is Progressive. I changed to Progressive, I think, a couple of years ago. I think I've been with them a couple of years. Previously, I was with Dairyland Insurance, and they just kept raising my rates. And I shopped around and found a better deal with Progressive for similar or maybe even better coverage in some regards. I will tell you that I filed my claim online with Progressive on their website, and I did that on Saturday, on the day of the accident. Now, apparently they just don't work on the weekends, because I didn't hear from anybody until Monday morning. Monday morning, bright and early, I get a phone call from my claims adjuster. I suppose it's my representative at Progressive. She was very nice, very helpful, and I think did everything I could possibly expect and more. She told me who my adjuster would be, and that they would get out to Midland, Power Sports. I had the bike, as you may recall if you've seen the video. I'll put a link to the video up here if you have not seen the video where I describe the accident and go into a little more detail. I had the bike towed to Midland Power Sports because it's 45 miles away. It's the closest Honda dealer. I don't know anything about Midland Power Sports. If any of you are from West Texas, if you've had any experiences with Midland Power Sports, I will talk a little bit more about them here in a minute. But I'm just giving you a little bit of background before I get into your comments. So the adjuster said he wasn't going to be able to get out to Midland Power Sports until Thursday. However, a different adjuster, I think, happened to be in the area. And so he went by, it was either on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it might have even been Tuesday. And he actually went by Midland Power Sports and just kind of helped my adjuster out and went ahead and did the initial investigation and the assessment of the damage. They have not totaled the motorcycle. I'll talk more about that later. I don't know how I feel about that yet. I haven't made a full I just haven't decided yet how I feel about that, but that's okay. There will be a time when I'll be able to discuss all of this. Nevertheless, they did do the adjustment, and what Progressive did, they assessed what they thought the damages were to the motorcycle, and they issued a check and they mailed the check to Midland Power Sports, but the check is made out to me and Midland Power Sports. Now, I do not have a lien on the motorcycle. I own it outright. I did not finance the bike. I paid cash for it. So it's not like I have to go through a finance company or anything like that. Where we are right now, the bike is stored at Midland Power Sports, waiting for me to get, I was waiting for them to get the check from Progressive. And my understanding from what my Progressive adjuster told me was that typically they'll hold that check, they'll go ahead and order the parts once I authorize them to do the work, and they'll get started on the bike. And then once it's finished, I'll go out to pick up the bike, and if it meets my approval, if I'm happy with everything, I sign the check. They get paid, I get the motorcycle, everybody's happy. Well, I get a phone call from Midland Power Sports. I actually called them yesterday and told them to go ahead and order the parts and get started. And I also mentioned to them that I would like to speak with the tech that's going to be doing the work on the bike. I don't know if they have a Goldwing specific tech at Midland Power Sports or not. If any of you out there know this, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd really like to know. And my first gut instinct was to get the motorcycle trailered or towed, just brought back to Dallas where I could observe and kind of be more hands-on, and I'm with dealers that I'm more familiar with. But because it's hard to get the bike onto a trailer, the front wheel doesn't roll because the front wheel was broken in the accident, and it won't roll. We had to take it off the flatbed using a forklift. So I don't know if a motorcycle trucking company would even be able to handle it, because I don't know how they would get it into a truck to bring it here. It's also very expensive. That's about another $1,200. Bottom line, I get a call from Midland Power Sports, and they said, if you're still in town, come by and sign the check and we can get started. And I said, well, my understanding is you don't get paid until you've done the work. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me for a dealer to get paid for the entire job up front. They could keep my bike for a year and there's no requirement for them to work on it at all. Am I crazy? Do dealerships get paid up front before they even order the parts or do any of the work? I don't think so. That's certainly not standard practice around here. And Dale, my friend who was the body shop manager for Park Place Lexus for many, many years, I asked him this question, and he said, no, they never get paid until the job is complete. Then the customer comes in to pick up the vehicle, they sign the check, they get paid, everybody's happy. I mean, after all, they've got my motorcycle. So put in the comments down below, what if you've had an experience with a motorcycle or an auto accident. My experience has always been I never signed a check for anything until after I went to pick up the vehicle. So let me know what your experience has been. That's my experience so far with Midland Power Sports. I will say I did contact my adjuster at Progressive, told him this story all through email, and we actually had a phone call today as well. He's the gentleman, he's in Lubbock, Texas, and he agreed to call Midland Power Sports on my behalf and mention to them that this is not the typical way things are done, and to ask them if they would go ahead and start the work before we sign the check, because I am not going to sign a check for something and then leave it open-ended as to when I'm going to get my bike back. For all I know, they could let it sit there. They have no incentive at that point to get it out the door. They just let it sit there and it'd be the last in line. It just doesn't make sense to me. So kudos to my adjuster at Progressive, because he did intervene on my behalf. That's my story with Progressive. So far has been very positive. I know some of you made comments on my video about the $850 towing charge. I got charged towing. They also charged me a 4% credit card fee. So the credit card charge ended up being $884, even though the invoice I received and that I signed said $850. I have filed a dispute with Citibank for that extra $34 because in Texas, state law prevents merchants from charging customers for credit card merchant fees. I don't know how it is in your state, and we'll see what Citibank does. If worst case scenario, I'm out that $34. And I was out the towing charge, but I got an email today. Progressive did refund me, or yeah, they're basically going to deposit into my bank account that $850 towing charge. So Progressive covered the cost of towing. So I'm going to go into a lot more detail in the future in a separate video where I really go into more detail on this accident, all of my injuries, my damages, and how that collection process is moving forward, the legal aspects. I just don't think it's good to get into it right now. And again, I want to thank all of you for all your supportive comments. I want to thank all of you motovloggers out there that are YouTubers that follow my channel, and you've taken the time to write me personal messages and emails and well wishes, and it's greatly appreciated. I will tell you that I have been to a doctor regarding my leg. I am scheduled to get an x-ray later this week. I am still experiencing some pain. Other than that, let's get on with the comments. Now, I'm going to get right into your comments. This comes from Kickstarter Radio. And the comment is, this was on my last Crown and Comments, and he said, love the show. One suggestion, add show notes for each question, and it's easy to do. And I think what he means by show notes, I believe, is he means chapter markers, so that on the topic we're talking about, you could go into the description of this video, and you could just click on the time and the topic and go right to that part in the video. It's a good idea, and I think I'll do that starting with this Crown and Comments. I'll start putting show notes, or what he calls show notes, or chapter markers into the description of the video. Let me know what you think about that if you like that idea. Thank you, Kickstarter Radio. This is from Yoda Cruiser. Hello, Cruiseman. I have been having an issue with my navigation. At times when my navigation screen is in play, I'll hit a slight bump in the road and it will return to the blue function screen. I've brought it up to the Honda technician at the dealership and wondered if doing a diagnostic test would uncover the problem. But I'm thinking that it would have to be acting up at the time of the test, obviously. Yes, that's true. They all tell me that they've never heard of that problem. Well, I will tell you, Yoda Cruiser, that is a Honda technician and Honda Corporation standard answer for anything you contact them with. They're always going to say they've never heard of that before. That's just their standard response. And he has a 2021 DCT non-tour model. I called him Yoda Cruiser. Actually, his name is Craig, he told me at the end. It sounds like a short somewhere in the system. If it is in your radio navigation unit, you're still under warranty, so that should be covered. But you are correct. If it doesn't act up when they do the test, they're not going to be able to trace it down. But just, if any of you have had this happen, put it in the comments down below. But it sounds like a loose connection somewhere, maybe in the radio navigation unit. There's no way for me to analyze this remotely from my studio. But let us know how this plays out and what you end up finding out, and if they're able to get it repaired. I will tell you that navigation radio unit is extremely expensive. Honda does not even cover it under the extended warranty. On their extended warranty, it's not covered. So I would make sure I get this fixed and resolved before your motorcycle goes out of the factory warranty. Okay, this is Larry March. Is there anybody left named Smith or Jones? Larry Marciniuk. I'm just taking a shot here. Hey, Larry, if I mispronounce your last name, I apologize. Hi, Cruiseman. In regards to your DCT clutch discussion and slow maneuvering, would it be easier on the clutch if a person used manual mode in these circumstances? Just a thought. And this is Larry from Alberta, Canada. Larry, I don't think so. I don't think so, because even in manual mode, when you're riding at low speeds, that DCT clutch is still it's in a slipping state. If you're at low speed, I don't think it would make any difference if you were in manual mode or automatic mode. And the same thing could happen on a manual transmission. Don't get me wrong. If you have a manual transmission motorcycle and you're out there doing an hour or two of low speed riding where you're feathering that clutch, you can burn up a clutch on any motorcycle. So I don't know if this is really as big an issue as maybe we've made it out to be. It could be this person was doing hours of these exercises. I really don't know. I don't know all the details of the story. Let's move on to Stephen Morgan. Chris, you nailed it on the head about subscription-based services. This is, I think it was about the Cardo subscription that they've come up with. He says, I hate them with a vengeance. I will not buy a Cardo ever if they continue with that business model. Same for Adobe. And Adobe's the one that started this crap. And I do not own any Adobe products because of it. I won't use them. Some people love Photoshop. If you think Photoshop's that great and worth $50 a month, fine. I bought Pixelmator for maybe $49 or $69. It does everything I need that Photoshop did. It does everything I need. Now, if you're a professional graphic designer like my brother in Midland, yeah, he has to pay for that Photoshop or Adobe Suite or whatever they call it. For 90% of the people out there, you'll do fine with Pixelmator. Okay, check it out. Free ad for Pixelmator because I love it. There's no subscription. It's very inexpensive. Every couple of years they come out with an update. Okay. Norman Cohn. Good review. However, mine came with both the cable and adapter as well as the inflatable pillow for charging. He's talking about my Sena Impulse review where I reviewed the helmet. And apparently Sena is now including the little inflatable donut that you can set the helmet on while it's charging. Mine did not come with that. Maybe that's a new thing. I may have gotten a pre-release version. I don't know. He says it came with both the cable and the adapter. Mine did too. Mine did come with the cable and the adapter. And he says, I agree, the buttons could be better. Now, when I rode the motorcycle to Midland, to West Texas, before the accident, I spent several hours with that Sena Impulse helmet, and I'm going to be doing yet a third update of my review of that helmet, because this is the first time I've done a long distance road trip with that helmet. Well, it's maybe not true. I wore it down to Bryan College Station, but that was only a couple hours. But I had a chance to spend several hours with it on the way to Midland, and I'll update that here in the next couple of weeks. Bart Beal, hi Cruiseman. Something I think is important, is the battery replaceable? And he's talking also about the Sena Impulse helmet. No, it's not replaceable as far as I was able to find out. And that is a big negative. Now, some would argue that the helmet is really supposed to, the shell of the helmet really should be replaced every 3 to 5 years anyway. So maybe the thinking is when the battery dies, it's probably time to buy a new helmet anyway. But if your battery died after a year or 2 years, you wouldn't want to have to spend $700 on a brand new helmet just because the battery in the Bluetooth communicator died. I question whether or not that was a wise decision by Sena to not at least make the battery replaceable. Good question, Bart. Thank you. This is also on the Sena Impulse helmet. A charging port that can be used while riding would be nice. I've had to charge a Sena and now my Cardo while riding. Very good point. I don't know why Sena didn't choose to just use a USB-C charging port and put it underneath the buttons on the left side of the helmet. If they did that, number one, they could make it waterproof because they could put a little rubber flap over it. But it would also solve this issue that if you need to charge the Bluetooth communicator while you're riding, some people ride 10, 12 hours a day, and there's no way to charge it while you're riding with that little magnetic charger in the back of the helmet. So it's a very good point. I agree. They should have a way to charge the helmet while you're riding, because their other communicators will work with shore power while you're plugged in while you're riding. You could ride indefinitely. Dean Gillis, Cruz, you're crazy. Just kidding. But what is really funny is it seems Sena has watched this video months ago, because my Impulse came with an inflatable. Okay, so he's talking about the donut as well, and it comes with the cord. Okay, so we've already covered that. Jim Zagame put a message in on my Indian Pursuit review. He says, great review. I'm thinking of trading my 2019 CVO Ultra Limited, that's an expensive bike, for one of these Indians. Jim, I have not ridden the CVO Ultra Limited. I'm sure it's a beautiful bike, nice bike, but I was very impressed with the Indian. I'd suggest you go ride it because it might be a good fit for you. Very, very nice motorcycle. If you're into V-twins, it's tough to beat. Okay, let's go to a comment on my last Crown and Comments. This video changed my mind from buying a DCT to a manual. Well, that wasn't my intention, because I absolutely love my DCT, and I think most people that own the DCT really love the DCT. Again, I think we might have blown the whole low speed handling thing out of proportion with the DCT transmission. I certainly hope we did. I would love to see more clarification in the future from Honda on that situation, but as of yet, they've been kind of silent on it. I love the DCT, and I think any motorcycle that I buy in the future that has the option of a DCT, I would certainly lean that direction. But I understand your concerns, and you know, you're going to be happy with the manual or the DCT, I believe. Sean Keogh, I hope I'm saying that right again. Hi, I have a 2020 Goldwing trike, and I get the ticking noise sometimes, and engine is vertical all the time. You know, I think I kind of have debunked my theory or my myth about the side stand being the reason for the engine ticking, because I went back and looked at all the comments I received, and it seems like just as many people that use the center stand, or in this case, Sean has a trike, just as many people have the ticking sound on the right side of the engine, whether they use the center stand or the side stand. It's not conclusive, so that was purely anecdotal on my part and not even good anecdotal evidence. So I think it could just be a characteristic of the engine. I know I've heard a lot of people that said they got their valves adjusted, but it didn't make any difference. I think it's just a characteristic of the engine. Who knows? Maybe somebody at Honda will weigh in on this at some point. I don't know. Carl Hunt. Chris, your Goldwing looks to me like it's leaning more than... This was on one of my motovlogs where I showed my motorcycle next to, I think it was Robert White's motorcycle, and it certainly looked lower. His bike looked like it sat up higher, and it does kind of look like mine's leaning over more, but I have the factory kickstand. I would check your kickstand. They wear after lots of cycles and get sloppy on the mount. That's possible. I have not checked that. On my 09 Goldwing, I noticed this also, so I took it off, put it in my vise and closed the gap, so there was way less tolerance between the kickstand and the hard mount. That's not a bad idea. On my buying a used Goldwing video, James Laughlin said 5th gen or DCT, which is best? Thanks. And is ABS absolutely necessary? If yes, why do so many Goldwings not have it as standard equipment? Well, James, I don't remember what year it was that Honda even started offering Goldwings with ABS. Somebody will know out there. It may not have been until 2003 or 2002. But part of the reason there's so many Goldwings that don't have ABS is because Honda, for a while, it was like $1,000 option. You had to buy a package or an upgrade to get the ABS, and that was like an extra $1,000, and I think a lot of people just figured, I don't need it. My personal opinion is I like the DCT. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I certainly like the additional gear ratios that we have with the new Goldwings. 5th generation Goldwing only has 5 speeds, and it always felt to me like it needed at least a 6th speed on the top end. Runs fine without it, but I always ended up feeling my foot trying to shift into a 6th gear that wasn't there. Did any of you do that? As far as ABS, I think it's absolutely necessary nowadays. I think it's just a safety feature you can't live without. I got an ABS in 2007 because my girlfriend and I were touring the whole country on the Goldwing, and we pulled a trailer. And I didn't want to run the risk of locking up the wheels on that motorcycle while pulling a trailer and have to worry about all that. So I wanted the ABS model. I personally, and all the new Goldwings have ABS as standard equipment now. And most motorcycles now come with ABS standard. So it's pretty much a standard item on most bikes nowadays. Okay, Stephen Babin, this was on my review of the Panicle radiator protector. His comment is, thanks Cruiseman, I think about possible airflow restriction to the radiators in really hot days. It would be interesting to know if that makes a difference. I don't think so. I doubt it. Anything's possible, but I really don't think that radiator guard would cause enough airflow restriction that you would even notice it. Lots of adventure bikes add these as aftermarket. Having a radiator protector grill is not that unusual, and I've never heard of any of these adventure bikes in hot weather having problems with it. So my personal opinion, as just an opinion, is I don't think that's going to cause a problem. And the last one was about the motorcycle accident, and I'll save that for my future episode. Listen, I want to thank everybody for joining me. It's been a weird day. Couple other things. We just got new carpet put in. The studio's been recarpeted. The whole house was recarpeted. And then today it started raining outside. And we have a door from our bedroom out to the backyard, and I noticed there was a little dampness on our brand new carpet by the door. So I started doing some research and come to find out the door frame, parts of it are rotted. This is a 20-year-old home now. And we have water coming in under that. We contacted a reputable door company here in Dallas-Fort Worth. The door has to be replaced. Plus, I'm dealing with the motorcycle being in West Texas. Every day I'm without the Goldwing, it's costing me money in my business because I can't make Goldwing installation videos. I've got 9 or 10 videos lined up right now that I was planning to work on in the next couple of weeks that I've had to delay. I can't do them. So this motorcycle accident has been an expensive ordeal. It's just something you don't think about. You know, I know most of you, your motorcycle is a recreational vehicle, which it is for me too. I do enjoy riding the motorcycle, but it's also a business tool for me. So every day I don't have my Goldwing, it keeps me from being able to make these videos. Now I've got several products here to review. I will be putting out some new reviews. I've got another motorcycle I'm reviewing for Honda right now. That should be out in a few days. Waiting on the weather to clear up a little because it's been raining here. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If you have any comments, put them down below. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next Grounded Comments. Thanks for joining me.